So I know that the thumbnail you just clicked on was a bit controversial. Why is that the topic of this video? I hate wholesalers. Keep watching this video. You're gonna find out coming up. What's up everybody, it's Jamel Gibbs. Welcome to another video. Listen, in today's video, we're gonna talk about the topic, I hate wholesalers. This was a comment that I got on my previous video where I talked about why wholesaling is becoming illegal. And we had someone who commented, I hate wholesalers on that particular video. So I wanna dissect this particular comment. I think it really is valid enough for me to give it a full video so that maybe all of us can learn why this particular person, Barbara Jansen, hates wholesalers. And this is her speaking from a homeowner's perspective. In the last video, we spoke about why wholesaling is becoming illegal, and we talked about wholesaling from an agent's perspective. Before I jump into today's content, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell if you're brand new, and leave a comment. Let's start a conversation on this particular topic. I think it's healthy for agents and investors to talk amongst each other so that we can get a clear understanding of both sides of the fence and then ultimately be able to help each other make more money in the end. I had a comment that came in just the other day. This particular comment came from Barbara Jansen, and it says, I hate wholesalers. And that's a strong phrase. I hate. Hate is definitely a strong word, right? So obviously something happened in a transaction that she had with a real estate investor that caused her to have this hatred of wholesalers. So let's find out what this particular comment is all about. It says, my agent forced me to lower my agreed sale, or the buyers were going to walk away unless I lowered the price by $20,000. So let's pause right there. So according to Barbara's comment here, she's working with an agent, and the agent is working with a buyer. In this case, she's calling that buyer a wholesaler. Now, what she's saying is the buyer, which is in this case, again, the wholesaler, is asking for a price reduction on the property. And the agent told her that if she doesn't lower the price, then the buyer was going to walk away. So she feels forced, like her back is up against the wall in this particular case, because she needs to sell this particular property. All right. First and foremost, nobody can force you to sell your property. And if a buyer wanted to walk away, it's fine. You can let the buyer walk away. Nobody's going to force you to do anything. But let's find out why she feels forced. It says, since I already agreed and gave a deposit on my new house, the buyer of my house requested I lower the price only after they found out I had purchased, or I had a purchase and sale agreement on my new property. So now it makes a little bit more sense, right? As we dissect this comment, she's basically stating that the agent must have said something to the end buyer, like, look, if you need a price reduction, then here's the situation. She put money down on another house, and now she has to sell this property to you, or she's going to be stuck with two houses, right? Now, a lot of the times, you know, at the end of the day, the agents like to talk because they're looking to make a sale. But really, they need to have the seller's best interests at heart, right? They're working for the seller, not the buyer. Okay, unless they have an exclusive agreement with a buyer, they're working for that particular seller to get the seller the most money that they can get out of that particular deal. But in this case, the buyer came up with the idea of lowering the price. I don't know what was going through the buyer's mind. Maybe the property needed more work, but they agreed upon a particular price, and now they need a price reduction. And ultimately, that's messing up this entire deal, because this property seller put another house on the contract to purchase, and it's basically messing up the entire process for them. Agents are frowning upon wholesalers because they feel wholesalers are taking advantage of sellers. But what happens when you have a thirsty agent that is just out for the money? They're not necessarily looking out for the seller. They're just looking out to get that commission check, right? Technically, they don't have the seller's best interest at heart either. And that's not all agents, just like the wholesalers are not all wholesalers. The ones that are screwing the sellers over, that's not all wholesalers doing that, right? You can't put all wholesalers in a bucket and say that we're all the same. The difference is the agents have a license. They're obligated to work for the seller's best interest. Same thing with wholesalers. The difference is when it comes to wholesaling, we're buying the property. We have an equitable interest. We're not representing the seller in any way. And in fact, if you have the right contract, when you're putting houses on the contract, your contract should specifically state that you're not representing the seller in any way in this particular transaction. It goes on to say, these scammers are construction companies who lie to the sellers, telling them that they are short $20,000, and if you don't agree, they walk away. The investors, she's calling them construction companies, but these investors are telling the agents that they need a $20,000 reduction, or they're basically gonna walk away from the deal. Now, why they need a $20,000 reduction, I have absolutely no idea. Maybe the property needed more work than what was anticipated. Maybe this price reduction is valid, but what she's saying is that she feels it taken advantage of. They agreed upon a particular price. They need to stick to that particular price. It says these scammers left a $100 deposit. That sounds like a wholesaler to me, I'm not gonna lie. A non-at-stake earnest money just because they offered cash. Definitely sounds like wholesalers. And then for those of you who are out there wholesaling, you know that this sounds like a wholesaler, right? And because they couldn't sell a house at a certain price, all they're doing is asking for a price reduction in order to be able to make a profit on the property, all right? There's nothing wrong with it if the seller agrees to it. But, you know, this goes back to what I was talking about in that last video. If you agree to do something, always do what you say you're gonna do all the time, even if it hurts. Because then in situations like this, where a seller is looking forward to putting money down or purchasing another property or doing something with the cash that you agreed to give them, then you start playing with people's livelihood. You start playing with people's feelings, and that can lead you into court if you don't execute your agreements the right way. She said, so no to wholesalers. They keep earnest buyers from being able to purchase a house in this seller's market. So no to investors. Now she said no to wholesalers, and then she said no to investors in general. So here you have these group of wholesalers who couldn't sell a property. They're asking the seller for a price reduction, and at the end of the day, the seller is disgusted from working with investors. And you can see how this can unravel. She, you know, can go out and tell her friends, who can tell their friends about this bad experience. And then the word gets out, it goes back to an agent. The agent is complaining. They already don't like wholesalers. So they're basically stating that, hey, yeah, let's get these wholesalers out of the way. And you can see how this thing gets spiral out of control, right? When you have wholesalers out there who are not doing what they say they're gonna do to help this particular seller, and their profits come before the seller's best interests, ultimately, it's going to lead to more and more problems, which was the point I wanted to make in the last video, where I spoke about, you know, if we're going to truly be wholesalers, make sure we're signing agreements, make sure we're putting down earnest money. Now, a few of you mentioned that earnest money is not required. It's not, but it shows good faith. That's what it does. And in worst case scenario, you lose $100, $200, $500. But in that case, you're still looking out for the seller's best interest. You're showing the seller that you're serious about closing their property. And if you have no intentions on closing deals, or you have no intentions on actually performing on that contract, don't sign the contract. Don't be a wholesaler. Don't be a real estate investor. And stop taking advantage of people, because in Barbara Jansen's case, now that's just another group of wholesalers, or another wholesaler or real estate investor in general, who gives everybody a bad name. So this is coming from a seller's perspective. Last video, we spoke about it from an agent's perspective. In the next video, we're going to talk about it from our perspective as wholesalers, and why it's important to have the right contracts for your real estate investing business. I just wanted to review that comment with you live and really open up the conversation. How can we, as real estate investors, as wholesalers in general, make the business better for not only us, but for agents and for property sellers as well. Let's have this conversation. I think it's a healthy one for all of us to have, and I think it's going to help benefit the business moving forward. I'm all for starting this movement to make sure that we perform better so that all of us can make more money. And if you're with me, let's talk about how we can make this happen. All right, so here's somebody who said they hate wholesalers. We don't want anybody hating us. We want people to love us because we're helping them in their situation. These are people with problems that we come across as we speak to them every single day, and they're looking forward to us actually purchasing their properties, not leaving them hanging high and dry, never hearing from us again because we can't sell the properties. So if we perform better and we do what we say we're gonna do all the time, even if it hurts, I believe that's gonna lighten up the light on us as wholesalers, as real estate investors moving forward, and we can all work together to help each other continue to make more money. Let me know what you think about in this comment section below. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.